Very welcome back. Now, a quick warning, this next segment it might be a little bit steamy, so if you want to ask the little ones to leave the room before you enjoy it.
Might leave you a bit weak at the knees as well, because we're joined from Sydney by a psychologist and a writer who decided to celebrate her 70th birthday in a very unconventional way by hiring a male escort. Gail Rice, you're very welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
It's lovely to be here.
And I know it's late in the evening where you are now and it's early morning here, but I do have to ask you, and we were talking about this a little earlier on as well, many people for their roundy birthdays, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, they throw a big party, they go on a cruise, they buy themselves a car or a diamond. You chose something very unconventional. Why did you choose to hire an escort?
Well, it was partly because it was the nature of turning 70. I was terrified of turning 70, I think, because I didn't like to think of myself as sort of moving from middle age to elderly. So I decided I needed to do something to really wake up my body. And I came down to two options. One was a parachute jump, and the second was an escort. And the escort came sort of as a second thought, really. I think when I started thinking about parachuting, I started to think, well, I've got osteopenia and I might break my leg or break my arm or even kill myself falling on airplanes. So escorting seemed a lot safer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so it wasn't going to be too vigorous then. That's grand, yeah.
Yeah, well, depends who you're booking. I suppose it could be a very intimate experience, Gail. What was the process like for you deciding on who the right partner or escort might be?
Well, that's something I didn't really know how to do. So like anything else, I got on Google and Googled male escort, and I was sort of inundated with young men in very little clothing with, muscles and pecs and hanging over cars and beds. And I sort of was ready to think about parachuting again after that. But then I decided to up the cost. So I went to a higher level of price range, and there I found Mitch. And Mitch was someone who was older. He was in his 40s, which felt a little bit more palatable than, he could be my son, not my grandson. So that was a bit easier. He also had a video of himself talking. He seemed, to be a really interesting guy. And he offered to have a chat with me on the phone. So it felt very kind of safe and a slow process. So I saw him online, I saw the video, and then I had a chat with him.
For women, I don't know about you, but a lot of women I've spoken to over the years say that their biggest sexual organ is actually the brain. So having that kind of connection and being able to share that intimacy is important. It's not just a physical act. I suppose it's more of a mental coming together as well. So what was it like finally when you did meet Mitch and have that experience?
Well, it was, I was pretty nervous. It was 3 months after I paid and hired him. So a sort of time had gone by. It was only on the day of the event that I got a bit nervous. So I bought myself a bottle of champagne. I rented a hotel room because I clearly wasn't going to have him come to my home, and had a glass of champagne. And then I guess I was sort of hoping he'd knock at the door and come in and it would all be very romantic. But I had to meet him in the lobby because he explained to me later it was mainly for the safety of the women. And, I get that. I guess if I'd come down and seen someone that looked like a serial killer or something, I might have, not gone forward. But I went down the hall, I went down the lobby, and there he was. He looked exactly like him in the photos, well-dressed, nice guy. But then it got a bit uncomfortable because I'm with this stranger in the elevator, going up a few floors, talking about the weather. And by the time we got to the room, I was feeling a little stressed again because it felt like I had to start all over again. So that was a stressful moment, but I poured the champagne very quickly.
You ended up getting a refund.
Oh, yes, I did. Well,
bit underwhelming then.
Yeah, I think that's a nice way to put it. Incredibly underwhelming. And I had 3 hours, and I ended up asking him to leave with about 20 minutes left. There was a few things I did wrong that time, too. I actually, when I'm nervous, I interview people. So I spent the first hour basically interviewing him about his job, and it was interesting, but I realized I spent was like $550 an hour. So I'd spent that much money just interviewing him. So I'd wasted the first hour. And then the whole thing just was a debacle, really. It was like he had his head on my shoulder, wanted me to pat his head like I was his mother or something. He explained to me that older women tend to like boyfriend experience. And I asked him what that was, and he said, well, that's a kiss and a cuddle and a chat. And I said from the start, I said, he knew what I wanted because I ordered these two things sort of from his menu.
Yeah.
And so, yes, so he went home 20 minutes.
Let's call a spade here. You're not hiring an escort for your 17th birthday for a kiss and a cuddle and a poetry recital. You want a bit of slap and tickle, to be fair. So the second time round, it didn't turn you off completely. You got a recommendation the second time round and you met somebody else, Chris, and it worked out a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, I'm dying to hear about Chris here.
Yeah.
Give us the juicy details.
Yeah. So Chris came from a referral because I wrote an article about meeting Mitch, and a woman in her 60s wrote to me and said she'd seen Chris 6 times. So I thought, okay, this is worth a go. So Chris was again about in his 40s. I didn't know a whole lot about him, but I felt I didn't need to because I had the referral. It was 2 hours instead of 3, which I felt a little bit more comfortable with. I asked for the same things. Like both times I asked for an orgasm and an erotic massage. So I asked for the same thing, and both guys said, yep, they could deliver. And Chris, I guess I was different too when I met Chris. I got another hotel room. It's a good way to get hotel rooms, really. I got another hotel room, and but this time I decided I was going to let him take charge.
Okay.
And I wasn't going to interview him. I was going to let him do his job, basically. Which for me is a bit tricky because I'm a fairly assertive woman that doesn't like particularly asking men just to take charge. But I did. And in doing that, he knew what he was doing, and it was a really good couple hours, and he turns out to be a writer, and we had a lot of
a yes or no question here to finish with, because unfortunately we've run out of time. Did you get a refund the second time round?
I certainly did not ask, and I certainly did not want one.
Right,
that was a
Jared,
happy birthday present.
Well, listen, you're a woman that knows what you want. Maybe for your 75th birthday, you could parachute and get an escort at the same time or something.
I think it sounds like a good idea.
Gail, thank you so much for talking to us today, and happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Lovely to meet you both.
Lovely to meet you. I think she's a very happy birthday by the sounds of things.
Very, very happy birthday.
Coming up in her final hour, what do you do with bored teenagers? We'll have a panel and to discuss that at 11:20.
We'll also be looking at the latest fashion on the catwalk, plus our top TV recommendations, including brand new Netflix docu-series on the US Marines.
See you in a few.